with Chantal Desjardins and Terry Kilakos.
Hello, welcome to the Real Estate Show here on CJAD. I like the song. Dave, nice work.
We got a thumbs up.
Got a thumbs up. Terry Kilakos, how you doing? Beautiful day outside?
Isn't it?
No, it's
Sun
terrible.
Is shining.
What would you
somewhere
prefer?
in the world.
The rain that's coming down in like 3 degrees or like minus 30?
No, I'll take this. I'll take
Okay.
this. Honestly, over the 30 degree,
Yeah,
minus 30,
30.
I'll take this
All
any
right.
day.
Now you know there's 2 kinds of people in the world.
Yeah.
You are that kind.
That's right.
We are talking about stock market versus the real estate market. Which one's best? I would have thought it was a no-brainer, but Terry says not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Whoa, it's going to be a nail-biter of a show. Call us at 514-790-0800 or text us at 514-800 with all of your real estate questions. Terry Kilakos, of course, president of Northeast Mortgages and chartered mortgage broker. So should we start with a little market update?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So the big news, Montreal's economy is going to be growing by 2.9% this year. It's basically outperforming all of the other Canadian metro areas.
That's surprising.
It really is surprising. I gotta say, like, it wasn't expected. We're actually going to be outpacing Vancouver and Toronto, which is very interesting.
And now, how is that possible? Like, why?
Well, they're talking about there's a lot of job kind of creation that's going on right now in the economy. There's a lot of homes being built. When we're looking at real estate in Montreal, it's kind of like booming right now. So it's interesting to see. My mic is like running away from. Are you seeing this?
I was going to ignore it. It was moving away from you.
I think it's haunted. You saw that? The way it was just kind of like moving away there. It's a lot of investors, especially on the real estate side, they're starting to come over to Montreal. When you're looking at Vancouver, you're looking at Toronto. There's foreign buyer taxes that have been put in place. Plus, I mean, those markets are just so expensive right now. Even with the new mortgage rules that kind of came in place and how there was a little bit of a correction that occurred, we're still seeing prices are still very high over there. Even though they've dropped a little bit, they're still very high. So seeing as they're so high, investors are like, well, you know what? We might as well go to a market that we can actually buy more for our dollar. And that's what they're doing. They're gravitating towards Montreal, which is excellent. And this is something that we've been talking about fairly often on the show in the last little while. The other thing that's interesting right now is now the home builders in Canada are starting to they're kind of fed up with the B20 rules. We've talked about this in the past. We've said this a couple of years ago when the government kind of came in and they said that they wanted to put in the B20 rules. I said that it was going to be a disaster. It's a disaster. I would say,
Remind listeners about the B20 rules.
So the B20 rules are basically the stress tests that came in. So, something very simple. Let's say you're qualifying for a mortgage and the 5-year fix that you're getting is at 3.5%. We have to qualify it on 5.5%, or we have to use the Bank of Canada rate, whichever one is higher. So there's all kinds of little silly rules that the government put in place to kind of quote unquote protect us from ourselves. But it's basically keeping about 30 to 40% of Canadians from actually being able to buy. Statistics say that it's 20%. It's not 20. It's much higher, that number.
40%.
I would say 30 to 40.
A lot of people not able to buy a house.
That's right. And there's a lot of people that are kind of listening to this going, that's crazy. That's exactly what the number is. When I have,
they could buy a house. They just have to buy a lesser house.
Yes, they have to buy a lesser house. But, when you have a school teacher, which is, I always use this guy as an example because very responsible man, has money saved up. He's got a good down payment in the bank. He's making close to $80,000 a year, 78. His wife is making a little bit more. They want to buy like a 4-bedroom home with a 2-car garage. They can't qualify for it. The government put in these rules. What they should have done is they should have gone in and put in rules for credit cards, and they should have put in rules for, buying cars, but that would actually depress the car market and affect a whole bunch of jobs.
Like if you're going to protect us against ourselves, do it across the board.
Exactly. Do it with credit cards, because credit cards are, people that hear us long enough, they know how I feel about credit cards and how toxic that debt is. Don't do it on a mortgage where people actually have to live.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happened with the B20 rules is basically people aren't able to refinance their homes now. So they're coming in to see us. They're loaded with credit card debt because the banks are very easy to give it. You show up to a bank, they'll say to you, how much do you earn? I make 100,000. You don't have to show proof. You don't have to show anything. And boom, you've got a $10,000, $15,000 credit card. And a lot of people will take those credit cards, they'll max them out. And then in the past, they used to rely on refinancing them and rolling them into their mortgage. Now they can't do that because with the B20 rules, they don't qualify anymore. And how many people have I actually seen that have set up mortgages in the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden they've been stretched to a point where even on a renewal, they're having a hard time with the renewals. We're not able to switch them out to a different lender. We have to keep them with the existing lender because they just don't qualify. That mortgage doesn't qualify to go elsewhere.
And now people are lobbying against it.
Yeah, so now you have the home builders associations are lobbying against it in Canada, which is excellent. I'm very happy to see that. The mortgage brokers tried to lobby against it a couple of years ago. If we look at the average home price in Toronto, it's tumbled by 12% year over year. This is crazy, and it all is directly related to the B20 rules. I think that moving forward, I think the government needs to adjust certain things. When you're looking at what the stress test used to be, so once upon a time when you would come in and you'd say, hey, I'd like a variable rate mortgage, or I'd like something like that, I would have to stress test that mortgage. It's easier for people now to get a variable rate with the new stress test that the government put in than it is for them to actually get a fixed rate.
Wow.
So it's just backwards.
Yeah.
Everything is just.
And do you think anything will come of it? Like, will the lobbying be successful?
I think that as rates continue to go up, the government is going to be forced to do some changes in there. Maybe they'll just scale it back down to the variable rate mortgages. They're going to have to make some sort of a move because as it is right now, it's not pretty. It's not it's not working.
Terry Kilakos, president of Northeast Mortgages and chartered mortgage broker. Call us 514-790-0800. Text us 514-800. We have Richard on the line who has a question about co-signing on a property. Hi, Richard.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Richard.
If someone is not qualified to get a mortgage and they've asked someone to co-sign, is it better to co-sign or to be a co-owner?
So
What's the drawback?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the first thing that you need to understand, whether you're co-signing, co-owning, anything, you are jointly liable for that debt with whoever it is that you're co-signing with. So if it's your daughter, your son, whatever it may be, you're liable for it. You're jointly liable. That's the first thing that you need to understand. Secondly, there's no such thing anymore as just signing for the mortgage and not getting on board on the title of the property. The majority of the banks right now are going to force you to actually be part owner of that property, which causes a whole slew of problems moving forward, especially if the notaries don't set things up properly, right? So if they put you as a 50-50 owner with this person and you're not living in it, now you do understand that there is tax implications down the line with respect to capital gains and other things like that. So, once upon a time, the banks kind of had it right where you could kind of be a guarantor and not on title. Now it's not the case anymore. You actually have to be on title.
Okay. Other than that negative thing for not living in it and having to do capital gains on it, what other is good or bad?
Look, if it helps your, whoever you're helping out get the property, then so be it, and go for it. Just make sure the notary sets up things properly. Make sure that the percentages are set up correctly. Maybe there's a contract between the two of you that says that the only reason why you're getting into this venture is purely for the purpose of helping them qualify for the mortgage. So that way you can try and mitigate as much as possible capital gains in the future. And don't forget also that because you're going to be on that mortgage, now that mortgage that you've just co-signed for does show up on your credit bureau. And because it shows up on your credit bureau, it'll impact your ability to actually get credit moving forward. Okay.
But is it more of a protection but you just said co-signer, you're going to be co-owner at the same time?
That's right.
That nullifies my question
then.
Okay, thank you for your patience.
Absolutely. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. We will get to more on the real estate market, comparing it to the stock market and the growth in both coming up in just a moment here on the Real Estate Show. But first, let's take a look at the roads. Here's Kira Yeager.
They are not too bad, actually. We have just a couple of things to mention in terms of delays. So at the very top end of DeCary North, it will slow you down from Royal Mount to the top. Not a huge...
Are we on? Are we on? Do it. Testing. Uh-oh.
I can hear Chantal's mic, but the other one.
He's somewhere else?
Is it really? Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can feel it. That's so funny. Some sort of frequency. Terry, you're on a different frequency. We knew that.
I know, seriously. Okay, well, forget it.
Oh, that's too bad. Weird, I wonder why. What's it picking up?
I have no clue.
Like, is it plugged into Virgin, maybe?
What was it?
There you go.
And now we're good. So now we're live? I like that Terry's like... I like that Terry came in, flipped one button.
Exceptionally low prices on the largest selection of mattresses. Plus, you can pay in up to 48 interest-free payments. We're offering an amazing selection of mattresses, including
Go Girl.
You go, girls. So now we're live.
Yeah.
Audio,
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Terry,
Yeah.
give us some up. You want to get on the camera?
No.
Get on the TV. Come on. Tell us a little thing. Give us some inside information. Little tidbit.
Terry.
About anything. What's next for you guys?
Hello,
When's-
Facebook family. No, actually today there's a little Facebook Live issue.
Oh.
So hello, YouTube world.
Oh, yeah.
Not YouTube.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think it's...
Yeah, YouTube. Yes, exactly. YouTube. It's recording.
What's happening?
Looks like Terry's got a case of the Mondays.
You got a case of the what? The Monday?
Mondays.
From Office Space. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, we saw it.
One of my faves of
Yeah.
all time. Not quite as good as the one that you're
Office
talking
Christmas
Office
Party.
Christmas Party. I don't know if you guys have seen
Everybody
it. But
should watch
all I
that.
saw was the trailer, and it was the best movie I've ever seen in those 2 minutes.
1.5.
1.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It seemed like 2. It was so good. It
I
was so
know.
many laughs.
It's really good.
Give us a little something.
So you're not going to be here for the next couple months. It's going to be a little bit
Sad, right?
Sad. Very sad.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Austria.
Sucks.
Austria, yeah. You know?
Skiing in the is that
In-
the Alps over there?
Yeah,
No. Is
yeah.
it
St.
Alps?
Anton. So
It's terrible.
it's terrible. Gonna do
Skiing
some
in the
stand up.
Alps.
I don't know if like the Austrians have the same sense of humor as we do, but I'm gonna set up a stand up
Yeah.
night. Gonna learn the guitar, play some funny songs, do some voiceovers.
Yeah.
We could do the show from there.
No, we're all good, man.
I think it'd be awesome.
We're jealous enough. You're skiing in the Alps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
I know. Are we on the air right now?
Yeah.
I want a behind the scenes tidbit. Give me something
Behind
fun.
the scenes, today we're celebrating Hanukkah.
Is it Hanukkah?
It's Hanukkah, first candle tonight.
It's the 2nd of December.
We are the 2nd of December. That's
That's when it starts?
well, every year it starts somewhere in December because it goes based on the lunar calendar.
Okay, so tell me what happens on the first day of Hanukkah.
We light the first candle.
Okay,
So
good.
we're going over to my sister's house to
Yeah.
eat these donuts. It's tradition to
Okay.
eat these like homemade donuts.
Okay, Hanukkah donuts.
Hanukkah donuts.
Good.
And give gifts to each other.
What'd you
Tell
get?
your friend Veronica.
To celebrate Hanukkah. Oh, I think we have to do a thing.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Show here on CJAD. Like the hard music, hard metal. That's Terry's choice.
That's right.
That's right. I would have chosen a little country in there, but that's cool. I mean, everybody has their own. Terry Kilakos, president of Northeast Mortgages and chartered mortgage broker. You can call us at 514-790-0800. You can text us at 514-800. We're talking about the stock market versus the real estate market. We'll get to that in just a sec. Let's recap the stress test when it was put into place. recap of what it's all about.
Okay, so there was a couple of changes that happened. So originally, let's talk about what a stress test is, right? So a stress test is something that will help you, well, it'll help the banks identify whether you're able to afford something more than what you're actually paying. And the reason why those were put in place is because interest rates started to drop, and we wanted to make sure that people were protected. Historically, stress tests were used for variable rate mortgages. So when you would come in and apply for a variable rate mortgage and your rate would be, I don't know, let's say 1.9% or 2%, it doesn't make sense to qualify you on that rate because that rate could potentially fluctuate. So typically what banks would do is once upon a time, they used to use the 3-year fixed rate of the bank. And then as the 3-year fixed rates dropped, they moved it to the 5-year fixed rate of the bank. And then eventually they changed it to the 5-year Bank of Canada rate just to standardize it across the board, which makes sense. You want to take a variable, you qualify it on a higher rate. That way you're protected. Everyone knows.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. 100% makes sense. The problem came in when bank lobbyists and a whole bunch of other people came in and said, well, we should do stress tests across the board. So the first set of rule changes came in and they basically said, we're going to do stress tests on anyone that takes an insured mortgage. So if you're putting less than 20% down, the stress test will basically, we have to either qualify on the Bank of Canada rate or plus 2% above whatever your rate is. So let's say you were getting 2.5% for a 5-year fixed, then we would qualify it on 4.5%, or the Bank of Canada rate, which was 5.34. It would be, we would use that rate, and Bob's your uncle. We would determine whether or not you qualify. Then the government came in and said, well, you know what, regardless of whether you're putting 20% down or whether it's insured, conventional, all mortgages have to be qualified on the stress test. But here's where the problem came in. When you're taking a variable rate, the stress test is that it has to be qualified on the Bank of Canada rate. That's it. That's all. When you take a 5-year fixed, which is safer than a variable, now it has to be qualified either on the Bank of Canada rate, which is 5.34, or plus 2% above whatever your contract rate is. So if you're now, the rates have gone up and rates are hovering in the high 3s, right? So if you're taking a 3.69, let's say, for a 5-year fixed, you would be getting that 5-year fixed qualified at 5.69. But if you choose to go the variable route, now the rate that's used to qualify you is 5.34, which means you will qualify for more money if you take a variable rate mortgage, which is historically more risky, if you will, than if you take a 5-year fixed.
So how are they protecting us?
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I mean, it's just completely asinine. I mean, it's just
right.
Yeah, it's just terrible.
Maybe
terrible.
It's a glitch. Maybe they're gonna eventually realize that.
Yeah, they're
not doing what they. The
Maybe
government
the next government.
The idea is to cool down the real estate market, slow the household debt. Did they achieve it at least? Is this
so? Did they achieve it? So if you look at the numbers, right? If you look at the overall numbers, yeah, Canadians are borrowing more, obviously, because they don't qualify for the mortgages. But what they should do is they should actually segment it and say, this is how much toxic debt Canadians have, i.e. credit cards and car loans. And this is how much mortgage debt they have. That's actually, they shouldn't even compare the two, but yet they bulk everything together, which doesn't make sense because a mortgage is backed by property, which means that if you can't pay it, you sell your property and you're no longer in debt. If I go and I buy a big screen TV at Best Buy, right, and I put it on my credit card and I can't afford to make those payments, I can't sell that TV. And if I do sell that TV, it's going to be at a loss, which now that just made it into toxic debt. The same thing goes for a car. I go and I buy a brand new car.
It loses like 20% or something right off the.
As soon as it drives off the lot, it's down. So I'm at a loss. Again, it's toxic. And again, car manufacturers, they don't follow the rules the way that, on the mortgage channel, the rules are followed. You go and you apply for a car loan, they're going to say, we need a pay stub or a letter of employment, and that should be enough. And sometimes they don't even ask you for that. Where do you work? Okay, how much do you make? Okay, you're good. And you'll qualify for $1,000 a month payment. Meanwhile, you've just impacted your ability to actually buy property or do anything else.
Getting a couple texts coming in here at 514-800. We have Hector saying, isn't it a good thing to eliminate people from the real estate market that shouldn't have bought real estate in the first place because their budget is so tight?
Yes and no. So the first thing that you need to understand is that Canadians, let's look at the national default rate in Canada. It's under 0.5%. Okay, hear that number, people. It's under 0.5%, which means that it can go up by 100% year over year, and it still would not exceed 1%, right? So that's the first thing. So Canadians do not typically default on their mortgages. The mortgages that default are a different animal, which we're not talking about here. So Canadians typically do not default on mortgages. Secondly, people need to live somewhere, right? So as long as someone is not overstretching themselves and they're not stretching themselves out too thin and buying something that they really can't afford, well, they should be buying property, right? Why shouldn't a young professional be able to go out and buy himself his first condo or his first home? Why does he have to go out and rent, right? Every single person that I know early on in their 20s, when they went out and they rented instead of going out and buying something, it hurt them moving forward kind of in the long run, right? So they waited and waited and waited and waited, thinking that they needed to save up some more money or for whatever reason. And all of a sudden they get into their 30s and they still don't own anything, right?
Well, that's like my friend now. She's, mid 30s and she says, I can't afford what I'm renting. If I buy it, I'd have to downgrade. And at this point in my life, like, I really like having a nice place.
Sure. Yeah.
So what do you do?
Exactly.
No, really, what do you do? Like...
It's tough. It's tough. And I think that, this kind of is, I guess it's going to segue into our show, whether it's better to invest in real estate or whether it's better to invest in the stock market, right? And it's one of these things where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. For me, I've always chosen kind of to go both ways. There's a lot of financial advisors that are kind of listening right now. I saw the wink. I saw the wink, okay? That's not what I mean. I choose to go both ways. Although... I'm not going to get in that.
We are going to get into the real estate market versus the stock market, which one you should do, coming up right here on The Real Estate Show.
The Real Estate Show is brought to you by Northeast Mortgages.
I saw the wink.
I was going to leave it as a subtle wink just for our Facebook fans. Uh-huh. But I mean...
What was the wink for?
Because he's
like, I go both.
He's like, real estate, stock market, I go both ways. And I went...
They can hear you, by the way.
Good to know. Good to know.
So I don't know
keeping us on track.
I don't know what it's picking up.
It's picking up a radio station. Maybe it's because we're in a radio station.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes total sense.
Oh, my friend Ben Lucas in Calgary, works for CJAD Calgary, is listening right now.
Shout out to you, Ben
Shout
Lucas.
Out.
Not that he could actually hear us right now because we're not actually broadcasting.
What's happening with the live?
Oh,
I don't know what's happening with the
live. I guess
live.
he's on CJAD's website then.
Yeah. Live now.
Don't forget to wish your listeners a happy Hanukkah and to let them know that Chantal will be away for a few months.
Away. I mean, we're gonna, we'll see how it goes.
You know what I hate about Facebook? Okay, so now we're actually broadcasting. Yeah, it's live now.
Oh, we are. Are we live audio?
What I really, really hate about Facebook is that every so often it disconnects you. So you'll set up like all your stuff, and then all of a sudden
doesn't warn you.
Yeah,
that's annoying.
Oh, that's the issue.
Yeah. So we should see we're live.
Just now, really?
Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't matter. The show's recorded, so we'll just. Yeah.
But it's put you back on the air now, or
I'm
back on
the
Facebook
air
now.
Just shameful.
We got a couple texts coming in, Tara. Tara Bear.
Tara.
How can
Tara
and Mare?
Turmer.
We had a friend.
Turmeric.
We had a friend, this amazing Jamaican girl. She used to call us Turmer with her accent.
Are you saying it's better than with my Winnipeg accent?
Yeah.
Her en parenthèse, she actually was on The Apprentice.
She was.
Wow.
And she was one of the finalists.
Are we live, like audio too?
Live audio.
Okay. Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
Well, Jamaican Girl. It was when they were in. I think they did it in California.
That would
this
be
time.
fascinating.
Yeah.
To know what it's like to
Well,
work
you know
with,
what happened? Because she's a lawyer in New York.
Old
and,
Trumpsies.
she was out for her lunch break, and she sees a lineup outside the hotel,
Yeah.
and it says interviews for The Apprentice, Donald Trump. The Apprentice.
Hilarious.
So she's like, oh, whatever, I've got an hour to burn.
No.
She stands in line, she gets in, like, really quick.
I would have thought it would have been hours and hours and hours
too.
of wait.
And she was like, she gets in, they interview her,
And they love her.
and she's like, okay, cool, you know.
I
Let
just
me
posted
know.
it on her timeline. We're talking about you, Muna.
We're
That's
talking
right.
about you.
And
I want to know the inside scoop about Trump.
that's it.
I'm sure he's a really nice guy.
Well, you know that me and him go
You're
really
buddies.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I even have a bobblehead. in
You have
the
a
office.
Donald Trump bobblehead.
I
He
did.
does, actually.
Yeah.
But he also has a bobblehead of himself.
Yeah.
I would love to have a Terry Kilakos bobblehead.
You want me to get you one?
Do you have a lot?
I have
No, just one.
Oh, really? You didn't
was
mass
custom
order?
made.
I think
No.
you would have gotten them cheaper if you ordered like 500. You can have them
Yeah,
as like
we thought about it, but
Christmas gifts or something. It could be very funny.
You know what I wanted to do?
You just looked like the bobblehead. You were nodding.
Yeah, you know what I want to do? I wanted to actually send them off to all the banks that I deal with.
Hilarious.
So all the underwriters get one on their desk,
Yeah.
and then, you know, every time they have a decision to make, should we approve this mortgage, Terry?
Yeah. Yeah.
But occasionally you might
Should
do
we
this.
call Terry
and-
Kilakos?
I don't know. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I got it for him for Father's Day.
That's so
So it
funny.
says number one dad on it.
That's so cute.
But it was a whole job to get that thing. Like, I had to send them pictures,
It's a
and it
very
had to be like a, it
Thoughtful
had to be a
gift.
secret. So I
Right.
had to find pictures of him from front.
Yeah, but I've
and
given her a
profile.
pretty thoughtful.
What did you
thoughtful
give?
Fat scale.
gift. No.
Oh,
No.
not
I,
that
You
one.
gave her a scale?
I did give her a fat
You
scale.
did not give her a scale. We don't call it a fat scale. We
No,
just
I
call
literally-
it a scale.
It was a fat scale.
What's a fat
To
scale?
measure your body fat. Yes, people, that's how romantic
Wow,
Yeah.
that is
Okay,
is.
what if- hold on, hold
and
on,
it was
hold
for
on.
Valentine's
No.
Day. Yeah.
Terry.
Yeah. And he says, I quote, this is because you said you want to lose weight. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Hey, random tip about losing weight. I talked to one of my nutritionist friends, and she says have lemon juice, squeeze it, like juice it, put it into warm water on an empty stomach every morning, and it kickstarts your metabolism. It's good for losing weight. It's got all these benefits for your
that.
immune system. So that's what I'm going to start doing tomorrow. Not today. I didn't
The
have any lemon.
realistic show.
No, it's
No,
a fake
this is the
season.
fake.
Fake
This is
It's a fake
news.
season.
Fake news.
News.com.
So that's what I'm going to start doing. Do you take supplements in the winter? You use
I take a
supplements?
lot of supplements.
Do you?
Yeah.
Go on.
He takes
I
all
knew
kinds.
you were smiling. I knew you were making.
No, no, he does take supplements.
Yeah?
I take a ton of supplements.
Do you both?
I
Do you
I
too?
don't. I used to take a lot of vitamins, and then I sort of
Just
stopped.
fell off.
Yeah,
Fell
but I
off.
have to start again.
It's
It's really important.
I had a crazy cold. Like I came back from Dubai, and just from traveling so much, you know, I find I always get just like sick when I come back. So I think I have to like.
Well, we
boost-
were talking to a doctor friend of ours, and he was saying just like top up all your vitamin C and D
Yeah.
in the winter, and
I have
you
this
should be fine.
emergency, like this packet
Yeah,
stuff you
yeah,
put in
that's-
water. So I'm gonna
it's
start
just
doing one
high
of
in
those
sugar.
every day. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, good to know. What's
Well,
a better
all
one?
the chewables.
Hold
and
on,
all the-
Kimberly said, "Oh my God, if he gave me that out, he would
I
be
know.
a girl."
What?
Oh my God, if he gave me that, i.e. the fat scale, he would
Oh.
be girl. He would be a girl. I would be a girl. I
He
would
would
have
be
my
in trouble.
testes
He would
like.
be sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
I would have like my.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not a good gift.
But it's okay.
Okay,
I'm
but
a
hold
good
on.
wife. I'm
Hold
a
on.
good wife.
Hold on,
great
I've
wife.
also given you other stuff.
What?
He
over
has
the
given
years.
me romantic stuff.
Okay,
I have
go
to
on,
say.
name
The
something.
best was our 7-year wedding anniversary.
What'd you give?
Itch cream. You get it? Like I
Setting
went.
your itch.
Ah,
You get it?
that's
So I went
really
to the
funny.
pharmacy. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
super funny.
Isn't that funny?
Super
I love
funny
that.
and
It's true.
romantic.
But okay, let's talk
That's
romantic
very
gifts.
funny.
Okay, so if you've seen like those Instagram posts where people are like buying stars, buy a star for your like
Yeah.
loved ones.
He bought that 17 years
17
ago.
years ago, I bought that.
He
for
bought
her.
me
You
a
bought a
star.
star.
There is a
I-
star up there named after me.
Yeah, I
You know,
went-
that's
was
like
romantic.
that's a scam, right?
No,
like
I
there's
went-
not actually
No,
a star.
no.
Like buying a piece of the land on the moon.
I have a deed to a lot on the moon and on Mars. I own
I
a
think
piece
the
of.
show is back on now.
I think we gotta do a thing, guys.
I'm just saying, but International Star
Wow, a
Registry.
star. You bought a star.
He did.
If
You're such a star.
The Real Estate Show here on CJAD 800. Terry Kilakos is the gift giver of the century. If you want to know what we're talking about, go to Facebook and check out our Facebook Live.
It was one time, and we're not
Talking
going to
about
talk about it.
what Terry bought his wife for Valentine's Day one year. It's not pretty. Still sleeping on the couch is what I hear about you. We're talking about the stock market. Whether you jump into that, whether you jump into the real estate market, you can call us 514-790-0800. You can text us at 514-800. The texts are coming in. A condo, $1,000. Mortgage, house, $2,500 mortgage. That's $1,500 difference can make or break you financially. That's more of a statement, really.
What? Okay, say that. Condo, $1,000 mortgage, house, $2,500. That's $1,500 difference that can make or break you financially. Yes, if you can't afford it, obviously, right? But let's look at the average price of rent right now. I mean, the average price of rent it's up there now. You know, people are...
Sure, you're spending.
Look, there's apartments going up, right? Condo living. So I'm doing this in like air quotes because this is what people want right now. So there's these new rental buildings.
You can be dropping $2,000 or more.
Easy. So why would you spend that when you can actually go out and buy something?
I hear you.
Right? You're spending $2,000 a month on a condo or on a rental, right? That's $24,000 a year. How much do you actually have to earn to be able to justify throwing out $24,000 a year?
Exactly.
At least if you're going to buy something, even if you're spending $2,000 a month on it, there's a portion of it that's actually going to principal.
Yep.
Right? People seem to think that if they have a mortgage, they don't own something. Wake up. You own it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Tough love with Terry Kilakos.
It's true. It's anyways, yeah. Don't. I'm gonna go off on a tangent now. So let's
go
keep
off
going.
on a tangent on Sean from Il Perot, who has a question about right of way.
Okay, let's see.
Hi.
Hey, Sean. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I thought it was a text. Sorry, I'm like looking for the text, Sean.
Okay.
Please go on.
So I just wanted to know what happens is our property. We're landlocked, given that we don't have any property on the street.
Yep.
But we have a right of way that comes from the street to our house.
Sure.
But as it turns out, we have two right of ways, and one goes across up to the street.
Yep.
And the other one crosses our neighbor's yard. Anyway, that house owner had his notary recently contact us to see if we could give up that right of way that we don't use.
Okay.
So I was just wondering who I should contact to see about doing that, or if I should ask him for any monetary fee for doing that, or just give it up because we don't use it in any event, you know?
Well, okay, so here's the question. I'm the type of person that I like to let people kind of live their lives. And have you ever used it?
No.
Was your intention to ever use it?
No.
So you can do the nice thing and kind of say, well, you know what, we're neighbors and I like you, and let's just kind of, no problem, I'll get the notary to kind of remove this.
Okay.
But if you want to actually really get, know your rights properly, I would get your own notary to look into it. Not only that, or you can get a lawyer to do it. I know that Jamie Benizri, who's been on our show a couple of times at Legal Logic, he's helped out a couple of people with situations like that. So you can always reach out and give him a call. He'll I'm sure will be able to help you.
My inclination is just to go ahead and give it to him, but
yeah,
I'm just thinking if we own it, when you own something, it's because it's worth something.
Sure.
So
but it's a right.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't actually own the land, you just own the right to pass by that.
Right.
That.
And he wants to sell his house, and he says because the right of way is there on the location certificate, it doesn't look good, and since we don't need it, he could just get rid of it. And
yeah, I tend to agree with you. If you want to just give it to him, just give it to him and say, yeah, no problem. Let's remove it. Okay. But make sure obviously you don't get rid of the other one, because then you're going to be landlocked. You need a helicopter to get in and out.
There you go. But okay, that was it. So if it doesn't necessarily have any value, but I should contact a lawyer, you think? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, my
Thanks,
friend.
Sean.
Good day.
Thanks. Cheers.
Got a text from Caitlin. I have 4 kids and receive about $2,500 in family allowances, as well as my salary of $60,000 a year. I have no debt and no car payments. Are there any banks that include family allowances to help my chances of getting pre-approved for a mortgage? Thank you, Caitlin.
So once upon a time, all banks accepted family allowances. And as kind of the years went on and rates went lower and lower, the banks decided to start disallowing them. We do have a couple of banks that still do it. We could definitely help you, Caitlin. You can give us a call at the office. I'll definitely set you up with the right people. But yes, there is a couple of banks that'll help you, and $2,500 in family allowances would go a long way in helping you actually qualify for something. So I definitely think that it's worth looking into.
Caitlin, call Terry at Northeast Mortgages at 514-680-4674. Okay, now let's get to it. Real estate market, stock market. What kind of growth are we seeing in each?
So if we're looking at, okay, let's not look at the States here, okay? The States is...
I try not to.
Yeah, I mean, I get into arguments with people about the States, and I don't want to make this show about the real estate market in the States, because in the States, what happened there has nothing to do with what can potentially happen here. We're talking about mortgage-backed securities that were completely fraudulent, and we're talking about rating agencies that were basically in the pockets of these, kind of banksters, let's just call them, and we're not going to go there, okay? Because that's what caused the collapse in the States. Let's talk about Canada. If we look at the TSX, and we look at what's been happening from the beginning of the year to now, the TSX has given back every single gain that it's made year to date, which means that if you would have bought a piece of real estate last year versus buying a piece of real estate versus actually investing your money in something that mimics the TSX, you would have been better off in real estate. Even in down markets where we're seeing prices dropping, you're still better off on the real estate side in many cases than you are on the investment side. Now, we got a few texts before the show where they were saying this is a real estate show, so we know which direction it's going to take. Obviously, Terry's going to say, go with the real estate.
Not
no,
true.
That is not true. It is 100% not true. And anyone that knows me well enough knows that you have to have a balance. You have to balance out your real estate and your actual investments.
Both ways.
Both ways, absolutely. And that's what I'm talking about. Okay,
I get it.
Your little smirk there, okay? So... You have to go both ways. It's important that, you have that liquidity, because if you don't have liquidity, and there's a lot of people that they focus all their energies on paying off that mortgage, on getting rid of it because they think that it's evil and they think that it's terrible. So they'll focus all their energies on paying it off, and then they have no savings, they have nothing in the markets. And then when push comes to shove and they need to actually fix the roof on their house, what do they have to do? They have to actually go and get themselves in debt again, get a line of credit, put it on a credit card, so on and so forth. So you need to have that balance. You need to build RSPs. You need to put money in your TFSA, but you also need to own real estate. Do I think that it's for everyone? No, I don't think that real estate is for everyone, just as I don't think that buying bonds is for everyone or buying stocks is for everyone. You have to know what your abilities are, what you're comfortable with. The one thing that I love about real estate is that it's physical. You can actually touch it. You could see it. People need to live somewhere. So why not live in something that you actually own, right? We've had this conversation before online, and I had a couple accountants reach back at me and say, it statistically shows that when you invest instead of buying real estate, if you rent, you're better off than owning. I'd love to see those statistics because I've
heard that too, and it just sounds crazy.
Never seen. I've said it. I'm going to write a book. I'm stealing the title from someone. It's going to be The Accidental Millionaire. And at 24 years old, I wish I could tell you that my master plan when I bought that first fourplex was to be where I am today. But I owe everything to real estate. So, and I can't say that for many people that are in the markets.
So now, would you recommend to everyone who wants a passive income to get into real estate, or is there times where you would not say that's a good idea?
Unfortunately, the majority of people that are buying in passive, and I use that term loosely, they're not actually making money. So people are going to go off, they're going to say, I'm going to buy real estate, I'm going to become a landlord. So they're going to go out and buy a condo, and they're going to be at a loss every month, or they're going to be breaking even. And in their eyes, they're investing in real estate. No, The whole idea behind real estate is you need to be cash flow positive. You need to actually walk away on a monthly basis with some money in your pocket. If you're not, don't do it. Take that money, put it in your RRSP. You'll get a better return from the tax man, and you'll be good to go. Anyways, we'll continue more after the
We sure will. More on tips for becoming a real estate investor and when it's a good idea. After this little break, we'll take a look at the roads now with Kira Yeager.
Actually, not a bad ride from what I can see anyway. Just about 3 areas I do want to mention with the delays. So we do have Décarie North.
Okay. We are.
It's hard to get to the meat with all the textures.
I know, right? Lots of.
It's okay. I'd rather textures and colors because at least we're giving them what they want to hear.
We're giving them what they want.
Yeah.
And people probably save up their questions, until today so that they can get an answer.
Yes, that makes
Love the show, rock music, and the Winnipeg accent.
Ow!
You got an accent?
Thanks, Mom. Just kidding. My mom
That's
doesn't know how to
David
text.
Simon that just texted that.
What's that?
It's David Simon.
Do you find I have an accent? I don't think I have an accent.
You don't have an accent.
I don't have an accent.
You have an accent, eh?
What's the accent? A?
But we all say A.
We all say A. We're Canadian.
Eh?
A? Whoa, Marav is dropping things. Come back on the camera. Your hair always looks like you're ready for like a Pantene Pro V commercial.
We'll continue what we were just discussing.
Yeah.
Okay?
More, So
how are ya?
So I'm good. How are
So
you?
he did get me good presents too. I'm so sorry.
Right, because we are getting messages that Terry's the worst.
No, he sounds like he's very bad, but he's
You're
not.
shiny
Oh,
I brought my makeup brushes because I have to go do a shoot after this. Thank you. I'm glad my nose hairs are now powdered.
No, but it's true. It's true. He did give me some good gifts.
Okay, tell me some of the good ones.
Okay, he got me like a nice necklace and
What about
a
the
diamond
star?
earring. Yes, the star. We already said
I'm not sure the star's a good gift because it just sounds like I'm going to give you this
a piece of paper.
patch of air and we're going to call it Marav and you will own this
No,
patch
but it
of
was
air.
romantic. It was romantic.
It's romantic. It's just
nice watch.
Yeah.
Nice
okay.
ring.
Good.
Couple of watches.
Couple of watches. What else?
That's
good
good.
presents.
So it wasn't
good
just
presents.
the fat scale.
No. No,
I
it
gotta
wasn't
say.
just the fat scale.
Good.
He never got me a blender or a toaster, so that's good news.
Okay.
I didn't?
No.
We know what I'm getting her for Christmas.
A blender and a toaster.
A
Christmas
blender
and
a toaster.
Valentine's Day coming up.
That's right.
Yeah. Good. And now big Christmas gifts planned. Do you do Christmas gifts and Hanukkah gifts?
Yeah.
You guys are just cashing in on the gifts.
Oh, yeah.
Tell your friend Veronica.
Yeah.
The
And so today it's the Hanukkah gifts.
Yeah. So what'd you get?
Nothing yet. I'm running right now.
You're gonna go to the mall after this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's little gifts.
Okay. Like what? Like a little
Like a little
like a car.
No.
What?
Like a pony.
No.
Hold on. So
Like a little
this
Bluetooth
is the
speaker,
last
like
show
gloves.
that Chantal is doing.
Oh yes.
It is.
Until next year,
Spring.
next spring.
Well, like we're we'll touch base. We'll
Yeah.
see how things we'll see how things go.
Okay.
Maybe Eleni is gonna
Outshine you.
outshine.
Oh,
Impossible.
Lenny, I need you to bring it down to like a
Impossible
6,
to
okay? I don't want you to
outshine
have
Chantal.
don't do like a 9, okay? Don't bring your best game, bring your B game because listen, I like our little thing here, and Lenny, if you get in there and you're like all charm all the time, what are we gonna do?
I know. Let's call.
Ah.
See, it's funny because that was a fake seat.
That was a fake seed. But you guys are gonna come to Austria.
Are we invited?
Yes.
So, what are you gonna do in Austria?
I'm going to do some stand-up comedy.
In Austria?
Yeah.
I see your schnoozklitten.
Yeah, I know. I don't think the based on we went there in the summer and there's not a lot of funny. Like the funny was not. We gotta do a.
Last stretch of the show. Real
That's
estate
right.
show.
And Chantal is not going to be here until the spring because
No.
she's going to be skiing in
Swish, swish.
Austria.
Yeah, that's how I ski. Swish, swish.
Doing stand-up comedy over there.
That's what I do. See you there. We'll do the real estate show from there every Sunday. Fly in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, I'll get you a direct
I'm
flight.
there. Okay, sounds good.
We're talking about the stock market, the real estate market. We were touched on it a little while ago about you wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everyone, but it's a good idea. It's a passive source of income.
Sure, absolutely. And it's always something that, like I said, it's tangible. You could feel it with your hands. It's great.
It's not like buying someone a star. Like you can actually see this.
Yeah.
Check out our Facebook Live to find out the details on that one.
You can see stars too. But
yeah.
anyway. So let's look at returns, okay?
Yep.
And I think that this is going to be something interesting. So let's look at, there was a study done on Bloomberg a while back, and they looked at the 16 wealthiest economies, okay, across the world. So from 1870 to 2015, and they compared housing, equities, bonds, and treasury bills to see what kind of a return there was over that time period. So 1870 to 2015. So if you were still alive in 1870 and you bought something,
good for you.
Yeah, good for you. Exactly. I would love to see that person, but that's a different conversation. Anyways, so if you would have bought treasury bills, you would be up 0.98%, which is
nada
year over year. Okay. Now keep in mind that these are actually adjusted for inflation, so it's a little bit higher, but once inflation is removed, that's where you're at. Then if you were to go the bond route, you would be at 2.5%. If you were to go to equities, so stock market, stuff like that, you would be looking at 6.89%.
Now we're talking.
And if we were talking about housing, you would be at 7.05%.
Okay.
So you could see how equities and housing, they're close. It's not far off. My advice is always, you got to do something, but do something. Right? Pick
something and just do it.
And do it, okay?
A lot of people sit on the fence because they're not sure which one to do, so then they just get this fear of doing anything.
It's analysis paralysis, right? So so kind of, going back to what we were talking about, if you're going to go out and you're going to be a renter and you want to stay a renter for the rest of your life, there's nothing wrong with that. By all means, do it. But make sure that you're saving your money. Make sure that you're putting something away.
In the stock market.
In the stock market, mutual funds, whatever it may be. Bonds, treasury bills, stuff like that. We could see it here statistically. They just are not going to pay you that long-term return that you're looking for. But when you're talking equities, you're talking about housing market, now we're starting to talk. I use the example of my parents. 1973, they bought a triplex in the Plateau. It was deplorable. I mean, that area was not what it is today. $23,000. That's what they spent on that triplex.
Amazing.
Today, $1.8 million.
Wow. Well, then that's the question. So what gives better returns? Single family home, multi-unit,
Single family home, you're going to always, first of all, condos, they're a dime a dozen, right? So chances are you're going to buy something. Yes, every penny that you're putting into it, you put in $1,000, there's going to be 500 that's going to be in principal, 500 that's going to be in equity, in interest. You're putting some money away, you'll sell it, you'll actually walk away with some money, hopefully, in the sale. Chances of it going up like crazy, I don't think it's going to go up, okay? Historically, condos do not suddenly shoot up in value. Houses, single-family homes, are the ones that actually move. Those are the ones that, you could buy it 1 year and 5 years later you have like $200,000 of equity on it. Those are the ones that are moving, especially if you're buying in the right neighborhoods. You're buying, those nice little suburban neighborhoods. They're going to move. It's going to go up in value because people need to live somewhere. Cost of living goes up. People get higher paying jobs. Hopefully the government changes the B20 rules and all of a sudden the price goes up. If we're looking at investment properties, this is what's important to look at. You have to be making money. For me, if I look at that first fourplex that I bought, had I bought it in 1999, I would have paid $60,000 for it, $60,000 to $70,000. Because I bought it in 2000, I paid $107,000 for it. Now, I'm saying $107,000, and people are like, "Oh my God,
low.
It's so low."
But at the time, you were probably like, "Oh, I missed out."
Yeah, that was my thought process. I should have bought it in 1999. Whatever, hindsight's 2020. I bought it in 2000, 2001, it continued to go up, and it just continued and year over year. But for me, I didn't care whether it went up in value or not. What was important to me was how much money, what was my rent yielding me? And for me, it was a very simple calculation. And people can sit there and create graphs and overcomplicate things. People, keep it simple, okay? My parents kept it simple. Your parents, whoever's listening, kept it simple. That's what you need to do. My initial down payment with the cost of the notary was $27,500. That's what I put out of my pocket.
Right.
My return, so what was I actually netting at the end of the year, was $14,600 and something dollars. So just round it up to 15%, okay? 15,000. So I was making a return of 15,000 on an initial investment of 27,500.
Pretty good.
That is more than 50% return on my money. That's all I cared about. Had that property dropped in value, I don't care because my return is still there. My tenants still need to live somewhere, and I'm still going to collect my rent.
It's so simple when you say it.
But
Everybody should do it.
This is what it is. But being a landlord is not for everyone. You need to be able to change a toilet.
Right. Can't change a toilet. Guess I could hire a guy.
Hire a guy.
I could hire a guy. I got a toilet guy.
It'll eat into your margins when you're starting off, but
better than me having to eat into the toilet. I don't know. And then finally, the stock market. So I have friends that have made money in stocks, mutual funds. Who gets into the stock market? Do you think it's for everyone, or is it for
Absolutely not.
Do you have to be able to change a toilet?
No, stock market is an easier type of investment where it's more passive, right? So you buy some mutual funds, you put your faith in someone else to kind of invest that money in those mutual funds. The thing that you have to be careful of, they're going to eat away at your returns by the fees that they're going to charge you, right? So the fees are a lot of times really bloated, and your mutual fund might yield you 3%, 4%, 5%. In reality, it should have yielded you 10%. But it's at least you're getting into the game,
right?
And at least you're investing, and that's the key, and that's what you have to do.
Do something. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
All right. Any last thoughts for the people?
No, we're gonna miss you, Chantal. Chantal's gonna be away for the next 3 months.
Few months. Few.
So we will miss you. Eleni and I are going to be doing the shows till the end of the year and starting the year next year. So
keeping my seat warm.
Yeah, I might actually get a cardboard cutout of you and kind of keep it in here.
A bobblehead. I'd like a bobblehead.
Or I'll get Eleni a blonde wig.
Yeah, either way. That is how we're going to end the show, I guess. Terry Kilakos, president of Northeast Mortgages and chartered mortgage broker. You can always call him at 514-680-4674 or visit him online, northeastmortgages.ca. That is it for us. Have a great week, everybody.
Every time you break a button. We're still live though, so don't say anything inappropriate.
I can't
Maybe say goodbye to the people though.
Hold on, I have to fix the button.
We're still on the TV.
All right,
we're still on the TV.
On the Facebook.
Guys, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you. I've prepared a little song about how I'm gonna miss you, and it goes like this. Terry and I prepared a duet together.
Oh, we did?
Yep.
Okay.
5, 6, 7, 8. Goodbye.
Farewell.
We'll see you in the spring.
Avita saying goodbye.
I'm going to ski and hopefully not die.
Wear a helmet.
In Austria.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'll see you next week.